Brooklyn Beckham has posted a very lengthy Instagram statement explaining exactly what happened between him and his family, and he says he's not being controlled, and it's not because of his wife. I'm not kidding when I say it's not long, so let's begin. I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life.
For years, the Beckham family sold the world this flawless dream, perfect smiles, luxury living, and a spotless reputation. But that shiny image? It's cracking fast, and everyone's watching the chaos unfold. Right in the middle of it all sits Brooklyn Beckham, his wife Nicola Peltz, and her billionaire father Nelson Peltz, a man who, insiders whisper, never thought Brooklyn was good enough for his daughter. What began as quiet tension has turned into a full-blown family showdown. Legal threats are being tossed around, icy statements are going public, and communication between both families has completely broken down. It's gotten so bad that some say there's no coming back from this. The big question now, is Brooklyn truly making his own moves, or has he fallen completely under the Peltz family's grip? Behind those dreamy Instagram posts and couple goals captions, something darker is brewing. Power, pride, and control are all clashing behind closed doors. Things hit a boiling point when Brooklyn took his drama public, blasting his own parents in a long emotional post that left fans speechless. He straight up accused David and Victoria Beckham of twisting the truth, caring more about their image than their family, and constantly disrespecting Nicola. It was the post no one saw coming, and it changed everything. There was no sugarcoating it. Brooklyn didn't leave a single thing up for guessing. He made it crystal clear that he was riding hard for Nicola and had zero interest in fixing things with his parents. What really stunned everyone wasn't just what he said, but how final it sounded. No soft talk, no we'll work it out energy, just a bold, cold message that screamed, "This break is real." People close to the Beckhams say Brooklyn's explosive post didn't just pop out of nowhere. It was the final spark after something heavy went down behind closed doors. Just days before he went public, David and Victoria Beckham reportedly sent their son a private, handwritten letter. No PR spin, no managers, no filters, just raw emotion from parents trying to reach their kid. They hoped that message could fix what fame and pride had broken, but the reason they even wrote that letter says it all. The family's communication had completely fallen apart. They weren't even speaking directly anymore. And here's where it gets even wilder. According to insiders, before that letter was sent, Brooklyn had already dropped a total bombshell. A cease and desist letter demanding his parents stop talking about him publicly and only communicate through lawyers. That move sent shockwaves through the Beckham circle. But what really left them shaken was one chilling thought. Maybe this cold, calculated move didn't come from Brooklyn himself, but from someone whispering in his ear. The Beckhams started to suspect that Nicola, along with her powerful parents, might be the ones quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. People who've actually seen the Beckhams' letter say it wasn't angry or defensive at all. It was emotional, raw, and full of love. David and Victoria just wanted a simple sign that their son was okay, practically begging him to keep some part of their family bond alive. But instead of healing the pain, that heartfelt letter only poured fuel on the fire. Things got way worse. Just a few days later, Brooklyn went fully public with his fiery statement, blowing up the quiet tension into a full-blown media storm. He swore that he was finally speaking for himself, firing back hard at all the talk about Nicola controlling him, saying it was totally backwards. In his words, it wasn't Nicola calling the shots, it was his parents who'd been running his life since day one, and now he was done living by their rules. That's when public opinion split right down the middle. Some people believed Brooklyn was finally standing on his own 2 feet, but others saw something different.
Now we're hearing from Brooklyn himself. He's telling his side of the story. In his social media post, he says, quote, "I do not want to reconcile with my family. I am not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life." He also says, "For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family," and also adds, "Recently, I've seen with my own eyes the lengths they'll go through to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, to preserve their own facade."
Every move he made seemed to pull him tighter into the Peltz family's world. He's living in their mansion, going to their parties, rolling with their crowd, and according to insiders, he only talks to his parents through middlemen now. And that's got people whispering nonstop. This isn't just family tension anymore. It's a full-on power struggle between two massive dynasties, the Beckhams versus the Peltzes. And if there's one moment everyone keeps circling back to, it's the wedding, specifically that now infamous first dance. Brooklyn claimed his mom, Victoria, hijacked the dance meant for him and Nicola, leaving him embarrassed and fuming in front of everyone. He said Nicola ran off in tears, completely heartbroken. People who were there that night said you could feel the energy shift in the room instantly. The joy just vanished, and what should have been a sweet, emotional family moment turned into the exact second everything broke apart for good. Even guests who swear they were neutral admit that the dance wasn't just about music or timing. It was about emotion, pride, and broken boundaries. That single moment showed everyone that this wasn't just some harmless misunderstanding. It was a full-on power clash between two families who both wanted center stage. For Nicola, insiders say that dance was the final straw. After the wedding, reports claim she made her feelings crystal clear. She was done trying to merge the Beckhams and the Peltzes into one big, happy family. That dance didn't just ruin one night, it lit the fuse for a feud that's still burning today. According to people close to the situation, Brooklyn was told point blank that he couldn't have both his wife and his mom in his life. It came down to a brutal choice, and Brooklyn chose Nicola. Since that moment, the silence between the families has been deafening. Invites have been ignored, family events skipped, and real communication completely cut off. Sources say Nicola has stood her ground, flat out refusing to attend anything where David or Victoria might show up. Now, depending on who you ask, Nicola's either protecting her peace or playing the game with some serious manipulation. But one thing everyone agrees on, Brooklyn Beckham is almost entirely cut off from the family he once called home, and that emotional wall just keeps getting higher.
I mean, Brooklyn Beckham's statement sounded a bit like she wrote it. Because I just don't think Brooklyn's that intelligent. I genuinely think she's gone, they're controlling you, and he's gone, yeah. And also, hasn't she had this problem before with like, was it Anwar Hadid? Like, didn't he do the same thing? Like, distance himself away from his family or whatever. It is a massive shame because you wouldn't be anything without the Beckham name and like the family name.
And while Nicola's been the face of all this drama, the real powerhouse in the background barely says a word. Her father, Nelson Peltz. This man isn't just rich, he's a billionaire business shark known for his icy control, razor-sharp strategy, and the way he moves pieces quietly from the shadows. According to multiple reports, Nelson's influence stretches far beyond the family home, and his opinion carries serious weight. Sources say he's never exactly been impressed with Brooklyn. Behind closed doors, Nelson's been known to brush off Brooklyn's many ventures, from photography to cooking to lifestyle branding, calling them scattered and not serious. No public jabs, no shouting matches, just quiet, cutting doubt. And when the man who runs the empire you're living in isn't convinced by you, that's a major problem. This whole situation stopped being just family tension a long time ago. It's about power, control, and money. People close to the scene say Nelson's presence is everywhere now, and Brooklyn's fully wrapped up in that system, whether he realizes it or not. And then comes the detail that really raised eyebrows: the prenup. Before walking down the aisle, Brooklyn reportedly signed a rock-solid agreement saying that if the marriage ever ended, he wouldn't get a single penny from the Peltz fortune. The only thing he'd walk away with is what they built together. For the Beckhams, that contract said it all. Brooklyn wasn't just marrying for love. He was stepping into a world he couldn't control. That prenup didn't just raise questions about money, it raised alarms about dependence. Because if the marriage ever crumbled, and with his ties to his parents already cut, Brooklyn wouldn't just lose Nicola, he'd lose everything. If things ever fell apart, Brooklyn wouldn't just lose Nicola, he'd lose his entire safety net. No family to fall back on, no foundation to rebuild from, nothing. And that's exactly what's been haunting David and Victoria Beckham. The heartbreaking fear that their son has handed over his whole future to someone else's control. But even with all the tension and silence, people close to the Beckhams say one thing loud and clear: the door home is still wide open. Insiders insist David and Victoria would welcome Brooklyn back in a heartbeat. No conditions, no big apology, no messy public drama. They just want their son back where he belongs. Still, Brooklyn's not moving an inch. He's standing firm, saying he has zero regrets. He believes he spoke his truth and feels totally justified walking away from the same family name that made him a star in the first place. To him, this is freedom, even if it's lonely. Meanwhile, the rest of the Beckham clan keeps pushing forward. His siblings are thriving, their careers are shining, and the Beckham brand remains as strong as ever. But no matter how perfect that family picture looks, one piece is still missing: Brooklyn. And while he swears he's finally living life on his own terms, the people who knew him before the fame and before Nicola are starting to speak up, and what they're saying isn't flattering for anyone. The most unexpected voice to jump into the feud didn't come from Hollywood or the fashion world, it came straight from football. Brooklyn's former youth coach from his QPR days broke his silence, showing sympathy for Brooklyn. But not in the way anyone expected. He didn't pick sides or play favorites. He just told his truth about the kid he used to train, and his words hit harder than anyone saw coming. He didn't jump in to defend David and Victoria, and he definitely didn't hype up Brooklyn's choices either. Instead, he painted a raw, heartbreaking picture of a kid growing up under insane pressure. A life filled with anxiety, expectations, and a family dynamic so complicated most people couldn't even imagine it. He talked about a 14-year-old Brooklyn constantly shadowed by bodyguards, living every single day under a spotlight that never turned off. Fame and money surrounded him, sure, but real peace and stability, nowhere to be found. Even for someone used to working with celebrity kids, the coach admitted the situation felt unsettling, almost unnatural. He didn't blame anyone outright, but his message hit deep. Brooklyn never really had a normal childhood, and that made him vulnerable. Vulnerable to outside influence, to emotional control, and to the idea that cutting off everyone might be the only way he could finally breathe.
Cut long story short, he basically talks about the fact that he is not the one being controlled by his wife. His family were controlling him. Victoria cancelled making the dress. There was kickoffs about seating arrangement. He wanted to do first dance with his wife, but Victoria wanted the first dance with him. And he's not being controlled by his wife. You know, I just need to add, he's not being controlled by his wife. He's standing up for himself. He's been controlled by his family, standing up to them. And he's saying, like, for the first time, his anxiety has disappeared because, you know, his family gave him loads of anxiety.
That's where things start to feel truly uncomfortable, because when you peel back the headlines and all the drama, one truth stands out. Nicola didn't leave her world to join Brooklyn's. Brooklyn left his to join hers. She kept her strong support system, stayed close to her powerful family, and never let go of her independence. Meanwhile, Brooklyn walked away from his roots, cutting ties with the Beckhams and losing the lifelong safety net that once kept him grounded. Now his entire emotional world seems anchored to the Peltz family's empire, and that's what's really worrying people watching from the sidelines. Not because Nicola's a villain and not because Brooklyn's weak, but because isolation changes people. When you give up the world you grew up in and rely completely on someone else's, that kind of shift doesn't just test your loyalty, it tests your entire identity. Here's the thing. When one person becomes your only emotional anchor, their influence can start to feel absolute, even if they're not trying to control you. And through all this chaos, one man has stayed completely silent: Nelson Peltz. Despite being dragged into headline after headline, the billionaire patriarch hasn't said a single public word. And that silence speaks louder than any statement ever could. No denials, no clarifications, no defense of his son-in-law, nothing at all. And for someone as sharp, calculated, and strategic as Nelson Peltz, silence like that doesn't just happen. People who know him describe Nelson as a man who moves with precision, makes decisions fast, and doesn't waste a second worrying about appearances or hype. Insiders say Nelson sees Brooklyn as scattered and still searching for himself. A young man with a big last name, but no solid direction. He's tried everything: photography, cooking, lifestyle branding, you name it. But to Nelson, it all looks unfocused, like Brooklyn's chasing an image instead of building a legacy. Maybe that judgment sounds harsh, maybe even unfair, But in the world of power, money, and influence, perception matters more than truth. And here's the kicker. Those doubts reportedly got even stronger as Brooklyn's feud with his parents turned nastier. In elite circles, cutting off your family doesn't look brave or independent. It looks chaotic, and chaos to people like Nelson is bad business. Behind all this drama, there's one major piece still hanging in the balance: Brooklyn's professional identity. He's bounced between passions, from photo shoots to food videos to lifestyle projects, but none of it has really stuck. The question everyone's whispering now is simple but brutal. Can Brooklyn Beckham ever step out of the shadows of the Beckhams and the Peltzes? Or will he always be seen as the lost son caught between two empires? Every single move Brooklyn makes now gets picked apart publicly and reportedly questioned privately inside the powerful Peltz family.
Brooklyn says that his mom, Victoria Beckham, interrupted and, quote, hijacked a dance that he'd planned. This was supposed to be a romantic dance between him and his now wife, Nicola Peltz, that took place on their wedding night. He also says that his mom canceled making Nicola's wedding dress at the 11th hour.
Meanwhile, David Beckham built his empire through pure grind, discipline, and years of hustle. Brooklyn's path, though? It's been a wild zigzag, jumping from passion to passion with no clear direction. That contrast between father and son says everything. One family thrives on legacy and endurance, while the other runs on dominance and results. So yeah, a clash was inevitable. Sources close to the Beckhams say they noticed the shift in Brooklyn long before things exploded publicly. At first, it was subtle. He started deferring decisions, letting others speak for him, and slowly, private family talks began running through middlemen. That's when David and Victoria reportedly realized something massive had changed. Their son wasn't steering his own ship anymore. People who've known Brooklyn for years insist this isn't the same kid they remember. They say he never used to talk about his parents like villains or act like they were running his every move. But now, that's the narrative he's standing by. And while Brooklyn completely rejects the idea that he's under anyone's control, the timing raises serious eyebrows. The deeper he got into the marriage, the more distant he became. And that pattern is hard to ignore. But maybe the biggest clue that something deeper's going on comes from the people staying out of the drama, his siblings. Brooklyn's brothers and sister have kept things chill, still posting with David and Victoria, still showing love publicly, and keeping their lives clean from any mess or public feuds. Their quiet loyalty speaks volumes because while Brooklyn's fighting his own battle, the rest of the Beckham family is holding tight to the legacy he walked away from. That contrast between Brooklyn and the rest of his family has everyone talking, sparking rumors that maybe this whole situation isn't really about family control at all. Maybe it's something way more personal. Because let's be honest, if the Beckham home was really as controlling as Brooklyn claims, why is he the only one who walked away while the rest stayed close and loyal online? Some fans call him brave for standing up for himself, but behind the scenes, the cost of that freedom has been brutal. No casual calls, no surprise visits, no sense of warmth or comfort. Everything now runs through lawyers, managers, or filtered messages. And once a family gets to that level of distance, rebuilding what's broken becomes almost impossible. Most celebrity family feuds follow the same predictable script: a dramatic fallout, a stretch of silence, and eventually a teary reunion for the cameras. But this story feels different because it's not just about hurt feelings, it's about power, structure, and identity. You've got two powerhouse families with completely different worlds colliding, one built on discipline and legacy, the other on dominance and control. And stuck right in the middle is Brooklyn, the son caught between two dynasties fighting for influence. The longer this silent war drags on, the more permanent it starts to feel. And that's what has everyone asking the same haunting question. Can this family ever truly find their way back to each other? So here's the big what if circling every headline right now. What happens if Brooklyn ever changes his mind? Because walking away always feels easy when you're convinced you're right, but coming back? That takes something far harder. Humility, forgiveness, and the kind of courage no PR team can script. Sources close to the Beckhams say David and Victoria would welcome their son home in a heartbeat. No grudges, no lectures, no need for public apologies. But can the same be said for everyone else in this tangled story? Would Nicola ever support that kind of reunion?
I'm not entirely convinced anyone is right or wrong. I think she probably came in a bit too strong on like, we want our privacy and we want to like be together. We just don't want your family getting too involved. And then they've obviously got their back up being like, why is she acting like that? Why is she acting like that? It literally, I mean, didn't this just happen with Amir Khan and Pharrell McDoom? Like, I swear, this same thing.
And even more importantly, would Nelson Peltz allow it? Or has that invisible line between these two powerful families finally been crossed for good? Right now, the Beckham clan seems to live in two completely different worlds. One is moving forward, smiling for cameras, growing their empire, staying united. The other stands miles apart, too proud or too hurt to reach out first. Brooklyn swears he has no regrets. David and Victoria say they'll wait as long as it takes. And Nicola? She remains calm, polished, and impossible to read. Whether she's fiercely protecting her marriage or quietly controlling the narrative from behind the scenes, that depends on who you ask. But one thing's undeniable, Brooklyn Beckham's life has changed forever. The glossy family image that once seemed untouchable has been cracked wide open, and no one knows if it can ever be fully repaired. The love, loyalty, and legacy that once bound them now hang by a thread, and the world's still watching to see what happens next. So what do you think? Has the bridge between Brooklyn and his parents been burned for good? Or is there still hope for forgiveness down the line? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment if you want more wild deep dives into stories just like this one.